Now for the next example, which looking at my tab, I believe is number 8. I'm just going to show you some simple ideas that you hear in Earl Hooker's playing. Chord ideas, fill ideas, and just some miscellaneous stuff that I picked up before we focus on 3 of his more famous songs and working out the rhythm pattern. One thing which you hear him do in a few songs is where he does these double stop slides as fills while the other, someone else is taking a solo. So if he's in the key of D, which is what I've tabbed out, you might hear something like this. What I'm doing is basically it's a double stop on the 1st and 3rd strings over the D shape. So I've got my first finger on the 10th fret of the 1st string and my second finger on the 11th fret of the 3rd string. That's our bass. And what he's going to do is slide into it from 2 frets below with the first finger on the 8th fret of the 1st string and the second finger on the 9th fret of the 3rd string. And he's going to pick the 3rd string and slide to the 11th fret and then pick the 1st string at the 10th fret. So you keep that shape. And then he's going to go back. And he's going to pick the 3rd string again. And then when he picks the 1st string, he's going to slide it back down. So the whole lick. Real easy little fill. Sounds a lot like the Memphis Soul of the 60s Stax recording. Something Steve Cropper would play, or maybe on the Gold Wax recordings, or James Carr. Now that same shape, you can move it over the chords. So the song's in D, the D is the 1. When he goes to the 4, you hear him play it over the 4. So if song's in D, the 4 is a G, so he just moves it down here. Or you could go way, play it further up the neck. Or here. Then back over the 1. And the 5 is an A. To the 4. To the 1. I can't remember the exact songs where I hear him doing that, but I noticed that he does that more than once when I was listening to his songs. Now some other ideas, going through some chord shapes that he uses that are a little different and useful. One is this version of a 7th chord. So let's say he's playing, let me see what my example is, it's in the key of A. So when he goes over the 4, instead of playing a 7, like your standard C7 shape, or even your A7 shape, he does this thing like this, which is really neat. It's what I think of when I hear that is the song Honky Tonk by Bill Doggett, where Billy Butler plays this solo. Just makes me think of that for some reason, because he does it, that part. So we're just taking the 7. And it's real easy how you do this. You take your 2nd and 3rd fingers and you just go to the 4, which is the D. Get the 2nd and 3rd strings. It's this double stop. With the 2nd finger on the 10th fret of the 2nd string, ring finger on the 11th fret of the 3rd string. And then we're going to stick our pinky on the 8th fret of the 1st string. And you'll hear Earl Hooker use that as a rhythm chord quite a bit, and it's got a neat sound to it. So if it goes to the 4, you might go back to the 1, play a 6. Then when you go to the 5, you can play the same thing over the E by doing the same thing, getting that double stop and throwing in the pinky, this time at the 10th fret. You can mix it up and play it in different ways. So that's a rhythm chord, which you hear Earl Hooker use. Now, I've seen other people show me another variation of that. So, play it like this and get a D7th. You can also like this. So we're in A. We can get this. Whoops. So listen to that. Listen to this. So we're playing an A7th now. So it's like, let me think here real quick. Hear that? And what I'm doing here is making this double stop. Maybe you know this shape, which we're going to mention here in a minute, but I've got my first finger on the 8th fret of the 2nd string, second finger on the 9th fret of the 3rd string, and I'm using my ring finger, or you could use your pinky if you wanted to. I'm going to use my ring finger on the 11th fret of the 4th string. It's another 3-finger chord. This time it's over the 1. So this is another chord shape that Earl Hooker uses. This time over the 1. This over the 4, back to the 1, to the 5, 4, to the 1. You could do kind of a chord rhythm with that. So the rule is, here's my first position bar chord. I've got this double stop, just throw in the 4th string. And so if we're playing in G, here it is in G. We're playing in D. Playing in F. Alright. Yep, F7. So it's just another way to play a 7th chord. And it sounds, because of the, like, especially over the 4, kind of a higher sound there that sounds pretty cool. You hear Earl Hooker do that. Another one that he does is a lick using a 7th chord, and this is what I sometimes call a Muddy Waters 7th chord. And there's his version of After Hours, which is a cool, Earl Hooker does a version of the old Pee Wee Crayton guitar instrumental. And when he goes over the 4, he does this, which is just using what I call a Muddy Waters chord. So usually hear an E. And so what I'm doing is making a D7th shape. Here's D7. When I play an E, I'm moving it to the 3rd and 4th frets. So I got my first finger on the 2nd string, 3rd fret, my ring finger on the 1st string, the 4th fret, and my 2nd finger on the 3rd string, 4th fret. You slide into it from below. 1, 2, 3. So that's an E7. We're going to do something with this in a minute. So in B flat. So if we've got a song that's an F, when he goes to the 4, instead of playing, he does this. As he plays it. It's a slow song, After Hours. So what you do, here's your first position bar chord. And that shape is going to be based on the 7th note. So if you're in the B flat bar chord, your blues box, if you made a 7th chord, that's your 7th note. So this time we're just putting the first finger on that note and then dropping the other 2 fingers in. He goes back to the 1. Just something like that. So that, and he does that sometimes as a rhythm chord. There's one song where he's playing an E7, and he'll even play that as a rhythm chord. Sort of like that. So that's a shape you'll hear Earl Hooker use as well. For the next example, number 11, I'm going to show you a way that Earl Hooker uses that 7th lick that we just did, the Muddy Waters type thing, and a really cool song. It's called The Moon is Rising, and it's like a swamp blues thing in E, something like you'd hear from the Excello recording, Slim Harpo, Guitar Gable, or Lonesome Sundown. And he does this really cool variation. Let me play it for you one time and then we'll break it down. So he's in E. It's a typical slow, kind of swampy blues in E. Something like that. And the lick I want to show you is this one. And it's a really neat lick because he's combining that 7th chord. So we're in E, so we're sliding the D7 shape with my first finger on the 2nd fret of the 2nd string. We're sliding it down or up. So it's 1, 2, 3. Doing a bend, bending the 3rd string, 2nd fret, and letting it go, open, to the 2nd fret of the 4th string, whoops, open, 6th string, so, and then he does this really neat lead in to the 7th chord. He's starting from the 3rd fret of the 6th string. He does a slight bend, pulls it down. He's going to hammer on the 2nd fret of the 5th string, open 4th string, 2nd fret of the 4th string, E7th chord. Missed it. So the whole lick. E7th. That's a really cool song. It's called "The Moon Is Rising." He plays slide over this, which just makes it even cooler because you usually don't hear that. Usually you hear harmonica or you hear just straight guitar, but he's playing the slide over that. So there's an example of how you can use that 7th lick, a little bass run, and then also. Now the next part of the lesson, what we're going to do is take 3 of Earl Hooker's songs that have some really cool rhythm patterns, and I'm going to break them down and show you not the whole songs, but just parts of them. And this is, to me, it's a good example of Earl Hooker's his genius for combining single string runs with slide parts, with rhythm chords, all sorts of stuff going on. And we'll start with one of his more famous tunes called "Two Bugs and a Roach," which is sort of an instrumental. He jabbers, talks throughout the whole thing, kind of jive talks with another guy. But what's going on in the background is what makes the song. And I had a request to teach this song a while back, and so here we go. So it's in the key of E, and most of the song is based on this E7th chord. If you've ever heard Buddy Guy's "Mary Had a Little Lamb" or Stevie Ray Vaughan's cover version of it later, it's got a similar sort of funky, swinging rhythm to it. Let me play it through one time, and then we'll break it down. Keeps going, and as he goes through the song he varies the bass pattern, but it's always kind of the same thing. So if you learn this first part of it, you can learn the whole thing. So he starts out with this bass run, and well, all that is, I'm going to hammer on to the 2nd fret of the 5th string, and open 4th string, and back to the 2nd fret of the 5th string, something like that. Too much. Then he's going to go to the 3rd fret of the 6th string, and bend it down slightly, then to the 2nd fret of the 4th string, and then open 6th string. So that whole bass part, and you got to get the bass parts down. The chords are easy, it's the bass part. it's different. Then he's going to play the E7. And I do it with just 2 fingers here. You could play the whole thing. Which might be what he's doing to make it easier. You could just keep that chord shape and play all that, but I just keep it separate. Does it again. Then as he leads into the A, the bass, or you could do something like this. You can mix this up, but the most basic hammer again on the 2nd fret of the 5th string, open 4th string, 2nd fret of the 4th string, open 3rd string, 2nd fret of the 4th string, open 5th string, which is an A. And we're just playing an A7, so the whole thing. Then we're going to go back to the E. And as we lead into the 5, which is a B7, so we're going to, again, hammer on the 2nd fret of the 5th string, open 4th string, 2nd fret of the 4th string, open 4th string, open 5th string, and then you're going to make that B7 shape. So, if you don't know this chord, 2nd finger on the 2nd fret of the 5th string, 1st finger on the 1st fret of the 4th string, pinky on the 2nd fret of the 1st string, ring finger on the 2nd fret of the 3rd string. So he's going to go right into the chord. Then he's going to go to the 3rd fret of the 6th string, bend it, and then hit the open A. So he can play the A chord. So from the 5, and he just plays. He's going to go open, hammer on, 2nd fret of the 5th string, open 4th string, 2nd fret of the 4th string, and then open 6th. So let's take it from the 5. All the way through. Solo and all kinds of stuff through there. But again, that rhythm is so fun to play with that bass note. You can mix up the bass notes, do all kinds of stuff. Do a great instrumental, just playing that behind a harmonica player or even another guitar player, horn section or whoever. So that is my first example. He's combining the bass runs with the chord. Now the next example, we're going to go to a slow tune in the key of D. This is a instrumental version of Otis Rush's song called All Your Love, which is a great minor key blues tune, and Earl Hooker did an instrumental, which is one of my favorites of his playing. I played this once before, kind of improvised it live, but I'm going to show you the first verse and show you some of the different things going on. You can get a lot of cool ideas from this song. So it starts out like, let me just play the whole thing first, all the way through, best I can. Not exactly, but pretty darn close, and I'll just show you the ideas, even if I didn't play it smoothly. Starts out on the 10th fret of the 1st string, and then he's going to go to a bend on the 3rd string, 12th fret, and wind up on the 12th fret of the 4th string. And he gets this minor double stop type thing. So it's, and I'm not sure if he's getting the first string on that or just the second and third string. But he takes his second finger and gets the second and third strings and the first string at the 10th fret, which is a D minor. So the whole first part. And he's going to walk in. So he's going to hammer on from the 10th fret of the 5th string to the 12th fret. 10th fret of the 4th string, 12th fret. And 2 double stops on the 12th fret, 2nd and 3rd strings, back to that one again. So far we've got, now before he does that next part, he does a little bass run. And he's playing this at the same time, which is really cool. And he's using this bass scale. You've got this bass scale, which I showed you in the second lesson. And so starts out. And what that is, twice on the 8th fret of the 6th string, to the 10th fret of the 6th string, to the 8th fret of the 5th string, back to the 10th fret of the 6th string, and then back and forth, 8th fret, 10th fret on the 6th string. So it's twice, like that. So the whole thing. Again. Then he does this bend. I think he climbs into it. See the tab for that? And then he's going to do the bass run, but this time he's going to move everything over. Because he's playing over the 4, which is the G. So that whole thing. And then he goes. So he climbs back in. And back to this. And then this part. I think that's what he's playing. Alfie. So he does this, hammering or walking between the 8th, the 10th, and the 12th frets of the 6th or 5th string and the 4th string. It sounds here like he's almost muting a string, the 3rd string. Then he winds up there. So you listen to it on the tab, I put it as a mute. And I don't know if he did this on purpose or if he just missed the note or what happened, but it sounds cool. Then he does this. Something like that. He slides from the 12th to the 13th frets of the 3rd string. There's a little bend. Check out the tab for this one. Up with this minor chord. And it sounds to me like he's just playing it with one finger. Could throw in the 4th string, which is at the 12th fret, and play the whole chord, which is a little more full, or you could just take the one finger. Let me play that whole thing all the way through one more time. So this is the opening verse for the instrumental All Your Love. And he's doing the single string runs, he's doing chord, doing the little rhythm thing, all kinds of stuff going on. And this is typical of some of Earl Hooker's playing. He's doing lots of things. He's not just playing one part, he's mixing it up. And it sounds fantastic. So here's All Your Love, the first part. And that is cool. And he goes on and plays all kinds of verses. Over this chord thing. I might throw this in since we're talking a little bit about chords here. The rhythm part, when he's not playing the instrumental, he just plays the rhythm with minor chords. He mixes up the rhythm pattern. This is a D minor bar chord, which is what sounds like he's using because it sounds a little more full than just the 3 strings. Then when he goes to the 4, he's playing an A, G minor bar chord. You can play a 7th, A7 to the G minor, to the D minor. He doesn't do that. You could do that, but he's playing that bass part instead. But during the other instruments, while the saxophone is playing the solo, he's playing these chords. I'm not going to tab those out. That's just something I threw in here. So that is the second example. Now the third example. This is a really cool song. This is Earl Hooker's version of a little Walter song called "Everything Is Gonna Be Alright." The original was done in G, if I remember right, and Earl Hooker does his version in E, so we're going to use a couple of the ideas that we've already learned. But I'm going to show you the introduction to the song, which again shows you some great ideas on how Earl Hooker would mix things up in his play. So here's the first part of "Everything's Gonna Be Alright." See if I can get this right. Part. I'll break that down. I'm not even sure what he's doing there. I think I got it, but it's really hard to play. First part's pretty easy. So starting out, he's just playing that 2nd fret of the 4th string, and he's hammering onto it. 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3. Like that. And then he's going to hammer. Open. 1, 2, 3. Open 4th string. Then that 3rd fret of the 6th string, bending it down. Open 5th string. 2nd fret of the 5th string. Open 6th string. So that's the first part. And instead of going to a 7, he's going to go to this 9th. And it sounds to me like he's just playing the 1 finger. So it's the 7th fret, 1st, 2nd, and 3rd string. And he plays it, sounds like twice. And he climbs back into it from the 5th to the 6th to the 7th. Same shape. It sounds like maybe he gives it a couple more strokes to keep the rhythm, but maybe he just lets it hang. Then he goes into the 4. Same thing, but this time open 4th string. Same thing we played before. Back to that 9th. I think he maybe throws in that, so it's like this. So let's play the whole first part of the introduction. This really cool thing over the 5, going to the single string runs, playing over the chords. So just following the B chord shape from the 9th fret of the 4th string, hammering on from the 7th to the 8th fret of the 3rd string, to the 7th fret of the 2nd string, 10th fret of the 2nd string, to the 7th fret of the 1st string. So that's that lick. plays that over the 5, and he goes where he's just, instead of this, he's just going, walking through the A shape. So from the 7th fret of the 4th string, 6th fret of the 3rd string, 5th fret of the 2nd string. He's going to bend the 2nd string, one of those long bends. I'm just doing it with my ring finger at the 8th fret of the 2nd string with my 1st finger, anchoring at the 5th fret. Because once I get rid of the bend, twice at the 5th fret of the 2nd string. So the whole lick from the 5. And then he does this little single string. And I can't, something like that, into the 5. And what I think he's doing is open 1st string, open 1st string, 3rd fret of the 2nd string, open, and then hammering on the 2nd fret of the 5th string, something like that, and he ends up with the open 6th string, so, and then the B7. You can listen to that. I'll try to tab it out. I'll listen to that again and make sure the tab is right. But the coolest part, you know, he mixes these rhythms. This bass rhythm, chord, again, the single string, bend, that blues note, and a really unusual turnaround there. Now as he goes through the tune, I don't have this tabbed out, but if you listen to it, he does some other variations. It sounds to me like there might be 2 guitar players on this tune, and so it gets a little muddled in places, but there's one point where he does something kind of like this. He throws in one of these double stop rhythms. Goes to the 5, playing the rhythm, he just does 7th. Chord. I don't remember exactly what he does, but the thing is, he's instead of doing he's going to mix in a double stop with the chord. Another cool idea. So that's a great tune for listening to, you know, his rhythm playing. And then again, just like with The Moon Is Rising, when he goes to the solo, he's playing slide. And that's, to me, one of the coolest things about Earl Hooker. No one else really did this, where he played lead, traditional lead in the blues box, but then he'd get the slide and slide into some things too. And the same song, same solos. And really cool stuff. That is all I got for you with the Earl Hooker rhythm stuff. That's a lot of ideas. Somewhere in there you can pull out something that you can use or help you to figure out if you're trying to learn how to play Earl Hooker stuff yourself and want to play a song note for note or close to it. I like learning these things because I just learned different things to do, different ideas that I can play in certain keys or in certain types of songs. And that's really why I enjoy doing these videos, because as I try to figure these things out, I'm sharing my findings with you. And it makes me a better guitar player. I've increased my vocabulary so much since I started doing these lessons. I hope you enjoyed. First 3 lessons. We're going to come back with one more. And this one is going to be completely out of my element. Earl Hooker slide playing. I've been working on it. We'll see what happens. And we'll wrap up our classic licks video with one more lesson. If you have any questions, comments, let me know. I'll be back with the last part very quickly.